All right, well, welcome, good afternoon, and thanks for sticking around for this. It's been a busy 3 days, and I know that everyone's been talked at a lot for the last 3 days. So what we're going to do today is more interactive. You'll get a chance to be part of the discussion today, maybe more than you have in the last few days. And it's also going to be fun, it's going to be low stress, it's going to be dynamic, and it's going to be a palooza, ultimately. So, thanks for coming to the end of conference Poll-a-palooza Part 2. I'm Erin Gallagher. I'm the e-resources and serials librarian at Rollins College, and I also write a weekly column for Against the Grain called Hot Topics. I'm joined by Derek Law, Professor Emeritus from the University of Strathclyde, who will be regaling us with something completely different a bit later. In case you're wondering what a palooza is, which Derek was just asking me earlier, so here's what it is. According to the very reputable source, UrbanDictionary.com, palooza is an all-out crazy party, partying at one place with a ton of people like there's no tomorrow. All right, thank you. So in case you were wondering, that's exactly what's about to happen. Has anyone done any sort of live audience polling thus far? If you were at the Hyde Park debate yesterday, which was just marvelous, it was really enjoyable, then you may have taken part in the poll, are Altmetrics rubbish or not? Was that it? Yeah. Victorious. So we're going to be using the same software today, Poll Everywhere. There are a couple of ways you can respond. You can go to the site at polleverywhere.com/chsconf, or you can respond via text. These instructions are going to be up there when the polls come up every time anyway, so you don't have to memorize them. This is the second time I've done this end of conference Poll-a-palooza, and last year, one of the questions I asked was, what do you think will be the hottest topic of Charleston 2015? These were some of the responses I got that people responded the most often with, and some of them are pretty accurate. I'd say open access has been pretty hot this year, right? Who has attended a session involving something to do with open access? Right, okay. I think we all have. So somebody had a crystal ball last year and knew that was going to happen. Some of the others, not so sure. E-books, DRM, big packages, that's definitely been pretty hot this year. Is it dead yet? Print, that's. I'm not totally sure what the prevailing sentiment is, but I don't think it is. Streaming video, what the sweats debacle, how quickly that did not become a hot topic. So I'm going to ask this one again when we do our polls, and then it'll be interesting to see next year if any of our predictions come true in 2016 for the hottest topics of Charleston. So we're going to get started right away with some polling. And you've already started answering, so good for you. All right, I like to start out with a question that gets everybody familiar with responding to the poll. So where are you all from? City, state, company, planet, that sort of thing? Unfortunately, this isn't like a high school reunion where whoever traveled the farthest gets a prize. Though I do say, is that London, England, or Ontario? All right. If there was a prize, I'd say so far, oh gosh, we've got Japan, Saudi Arabia. Wow, we've got some people who've traveled really far to come to this conference, which I think it's definitely worth it. It's my favorite conference of the year. All right. Oh, Australia. Okay, somebody won. All right, you can still continue to respond, but I'm going to go ahead and move on. Also, the tenor of the questions today, I want this to be fun, but also informative. So we're starting out with some general questions about the conference, and then I'm going to move into some questions that involve common themes that have risen throughout the sessions, things that I've pulled from my Hot Topics column, things that have come out of a lot of news involving library and information and book selling throughout the year, and then ending with some other fun ones. But what I really hope is going to happen is that this leads to some lively conversation. So don't feel like if you have a question, you have to sit on it. Please speak out, raise your hand, stand up, do the sort of things that would be expected at a palooza, and feel free to add to the conversation. I do want to add, so Derek asked me earlier what exactly is a palooza, and beyond the Urban Dictionary definition, I was thinking, where did I get the idea of attacking palooza onto the end of this? And I realized it came from, has anyone ever been to the music fest Lollapalooza? Okay, Nicole, nice. Yeah, wow, we really have some people who went to Lollapalooza. Okay. So I was explaining to Derek what that was, and I realized that's the only other context in which I've ever heard this used. I'd like to know if you're a first-time attendee of the Charleston conference. Also, if your answer is C, what's the Charleston conference, then I guess you just showed up for the food and we're all a bunch of librarians. Oh wow, we've got a pretty good mix of first-timers and veterans. Nice. That's really good to know that we've got a lot of people, it's your first time here. Who knew that it was going to be this hot? Okay, yeah. I live in Orlando, Florida, so this is like nice to me, but I realize it's probably pretty melty for everybody else. This is one of my favorites to find out. What's your favorite session type? Oh, also, Neapolitan isn't the ice cream, in case you were wondering. Derek, you're not responding?
No, I thought it was ice cream. You've not told me what it is.
Oh, good. We got some G's going on. Happy hour.
How can you be in two places at once and attend a concurrent session?
These are highly philosophical questions. I'm not sure I'm prepared to answer these. This is a palooza, after all.
There's clearly Altmetrics here. I do not believe only 4% of people go to happy hour at the bar.
See, this is anonymous, everybody, too. Nobody knows who's responding what. Actually, yes, you can vote as many times as you like. So that's, once again, Altmetrics at work, right? Oh, really? Huh. Maybe the multiple choice, I think you can only vote once, but with the open-ended questions, you can respond as many times as you like.
What you need is Irish election software. Vote early, vote often.
Hey, now. My name is Erin Gallagher.
She's quick. She is quick.
Oh, well, we've always had to be. I'm definitely interested to know, what do you think of the new Gallagher Center? Also, am I pronouncing it correctly? I just think it's absolutely stunning. It's gorgeous, beautiful venue. I also think it could use a few more signs. I got very lost yesterday on my way to the Hyde Park debate. Kind of a maze, yes. That's a good way to put it. Oh, I saw something that said you aren't, so does that mean I did not pronounce it incorrectly? Okay. It's Gayard, okay.
Nooks and crannies?
Nooks and crannies, ooh, I want to know more about those. Oh, weird sign for non-existent ladies' room on second floor. Make note. Unpronounceable yet gorgeous. Ooh, that should be their promo. All right. All right, here's what I want to know. Oh, this is the hottest buzzword of the 2015 conference. It's a palooza. That's why,
As a French major, Gallagher in French means a vigorous, healthy old man.
Well then.
Thank you very much.
This is why I'm really glad to be in a room of scholars. Thank you very much. Gaillard.
But you know that most people here say Gilliard.
That's what I was wondering. I thought, is that a Charleston thing, or is that actually how it's pronounced? Maybe there's not a wrong answer here. You say Gaillard, I say Gallard. Amazing record attendance. That's nice to see. Open access, sharing, weeding, food, yes. Katina. Need coffee. Was that for the previous question, or was that this one? Grits. Derek, are you a fan of grits?
What?
Are you a fan of grits, the food grits?
Oh, it's what we... Yeah, we put it on the road to when ice is there to
All right.
stop people sliding.
Oh, okay, then I guess you are a fan. Okay.
Harmony grits, yes.
All right, so I'm going to be taking these responses and compiling them for our Poll-a-palooza for next year, and we'll see if our predictions of hottest buzzes come true. Yay! There's one that says yay. All right, we're moving on to the next question. What do those stats mean? All right. We're going to start with some serious questions now. How do you purchase ebooks? DDA, PDA, EBA. Choose your favorite acronym. Do you purchase through publisher aggregator packages, title by title? We don't purchase ebooks. Okay, those of you responding other, if you are so inclined, I would love to hear what else you're doing. All of the above? Okay, maybe that's other. If there's an other that I didn't catch here, though, please feel free to share. I'd be interested to see how these responses would match up if I had done this same question even 5 years ago. Also, let me know if you need more time. Is everyone doing pretty well with the polling software? It's working for everybody? Okay, great, good. I like to ask my students, part of my liaison duties at Rollins involve working with the English department and teaching library sessions for the English classes, and I always like to ask the students, who likes to read an ebook who likes to read a book entirely online? And so that's why this whole buzz topic of is print dead yet, it seems like such an obvious answer that it's no, because when I ask these students who are between the ages of 18 and 21 mostly, if they like to read books entirely online, I might get one tentative little hand coming up. So I think that answers the question.
Although I'd like to ask the second question, when did they last read a book? In any format.
I like to be a bit more positive in my instruction. Have you ever taken a MOOC? And when I asked, my mom is here visiting with me. She's not in the audience today. But I was telling her about polling, and I asked, do you know what is a MOOC? And she said, is that like a hip, new alternative milk? Okay, so we got some what the heck is a MOOC? MOOC, massive online open course. It's freely available courses offered by a lot of institutions and organizations and colleges, and they have varying levels of sophistication and value. And I wanted to ask this question because one of our librarians was on a sabbatical all last year, and part of what she did during that sabbatical was take several MOOCs and try them out. And I think out of those, there were maybe only one or two that proved to be really valuable. So Does anybody have any that they've taken and found to be worth sharing? Yes. Yes. Copyright X? And who offers that? Harvard. Okay, I think I've heard of that one. By the way, if anyone needs a microphone, if you want to speak and you feel like you might need a little bit of amplification, then our dear friend might be able to bring you a microphone. Yes?
Well, as I said 2 years ago at the plenary, every one of you should take a MOOC, a meta MOOC. You'll figure out what it's like. You'll have your own opinion based on stuff. I'm amazed that only 20% of you have taken a MOOC. You're missing out on an important phenomenon in our world.
That's good to hear. I admit I have not taken one, so I'm inspired. Yes?
I've taken 2 music clubs, the history of jazz,
Ooh.
was really good, and one on sonata.
Okay. I like to hear that you don't necessarily have to take ones that relate directly to your day-to-day. It could be kind of fun, too. Has anybody else taken any others that are a little bit off the beaten path? Yes? Equine nutrition. Wow. All right. Horse health. Oh, okay. I lied about the microphone. You're just going to have to shout. All right. At this point, DDA, or demand-driven acquisition, is, and this is open-ended, friends, so you can respond as many times as you like, and it's anonymous. Responses might be things like old hat, or not something I would touch with a 10-foot pole, or fantastic. Oh, wow. The negativity. Oh, gosh, I'm so glad I just co-authored a book on use-driven acquisition. Malicious quagmire. Where articles should be, I like that. I don't know who said that, but I agree, and I totally salute you. Oh, I see. Gotta also ask if we ever completed a MOOC. Very good point. Whoever mentioned that. Maybe that'll be for next year. Worth exploring, too expensive, and oh, that's in all caps. All right, somebody was pretty serious about that one. All right, well, I am very interested in these answers, and so if you want to come talk to me afterward about this in more detail, I'd like to hear more about why this is getting such negative feedback. An interesting idea. Do you think that DDA would be better received if we had more options for formats beyond just books, ebooks? Yay, nay? That's a little on-the-fly question.
I love that one, where our expectations went to die.
Works well with video, I agree. We found that to be working quite well for us. More expensive than the good old days. Oh, all right. Let's try the next one. Oh, here we go. Hot topic. Do you use alternative metrics to measure the impact of your own research and publication activities? How about you, Derek?
I hadn't heard of them till last week's.
Oh, wow. You fooled us. So we've got some yeses. Those of you saying yes, I'd love to hear more about what you're using, what sort of sources of measurement are you using? Social media? Maybe nobody wants to admit that they said yes. I'm getting some what the heck are Altmetrics. So Derek did a really lovely job of providing us with an analogy yesterday that it's a bit like alternative medicine. And I was also, the first thing I thought of was alternative rock music from the 90s, hence the Palooza theme. But as far as what the heck are Altmetrics, Derek, you want to give us 10 seconds?
a snare and a delusion. They rely on the assumption that people who don't know anything know what's good. It's a bit the same as giving them, as using demand-driven acquisition. You leave it to the general public to decide what's good and what's bad. It bears no relation to what is important, it's just what can be measured. And the assumption is, if you can measure it, that's good enough. And the other thing I liked is that the highest correlation, I read when I was reading this up, the highest correlation that you get with Altmetrics is with retraction watch, which shows that what it's measuring is bad science, which I find fascinating.
All right, Derek, next year, you and me. Is DDA rubbish? It's on. All right, open-ended question. How do you market open access resources to your user community? And the answer to this might be, I don't. But in any case, I'd love to hear about what you're doing. Okay, B, that's whoever is using bees to market open access resources, see me after. I want to know how you're doing this. You're including them in catalogs, digital commons, Facebook. Was Facebook with the Altmetrics question? I learned a lot about what different libraries are doing with open access resources as far as marketing here.
I like the idea of having a budget for open access.
Well, you know. Actually, that's what we're doing right now, and it does involve the budget. We're kind of throwing money at our faculty to get them interested in publishing in open access, and then that's getting the foot in the door for us, hopefully. I have no users. So I'm assuming we have like some vendors or publishers in the audience. If this doesn't totally apply to you, you can make something up. I'm interested in, there are quite a few Facebook answers here. If anyone has answered Facebook and feels confident in, if you want to share, how are you marketing open access resources via Facebook? All right, well, you don't have to, but. Good to know. Yeah, we do similar things. We have the blog and pushing things to Facebook. Right. Okay, thank you. Instruction classes, definitely. I was very interested to know if you're promoting open access and instruction as well. That's something that we're thinking about doing more. LinkedIn. Is that where things go to die? I don't think so, but I've heard that. I'm very interested in this one. Do you consider Wikipedia to be a valid educational resource for college students?
Yes.
Ooh, maybe that's another one for next year, debate. This is great. I'm seeing lots of yeses. It depends. I think it does kind of depend in some ways. We have a faculty member in the English department at Rollins who teaches a class every couple of semesters called Writing About Wikipedia, and it involves students working in groups or working independently to improve Wikipedia entries together. And I learned a lot by partnering with this faculty member on exactly what goes into the vetting process at Wikipedia as far as what they allow to be posted. And I was really surprised to find out how quick they are at identifying erroneous information and pretty much shutting you down. And in fact, just recently, I became aware that the Rollins College IP addresses are being blocked. People are being blocked from editing Wikipedia from our IP ranges. And the reason being, there seems to be one person who consistently goes in and adds erroneous Crayola crayon colors to the Crayola entry, some of which are downright racy. So we're working on correcting that.
I guess Donald Trump has to do something in his spare time. But I really like the story of the Bodleian Library and its special collections. And there were a lot of erroneous entries about their special collections. But the librarian, very cleverly, I thought, rather than just moaning and writing and complaining and getting them to change it, assigned members of her staff to writing up entries about the Bodleian special collections with hot links through to catalogues and things like that. So they used it as a positive attitude rather than attribute rather than just complaining about it. I thought that was really good.
Very nice. I like that idea. Oh. All right, so I'm definitely interested to know if you'll be implementing any new programs or adjusting existing programs at your library or organization based on what you've learned here. I know I will be for sure, especially regarding open access marketing, management, collecting. For those of you who are responding yes, anyone want to share what you might be implementing or changing at your place of business? We're all going to be getting rid of DDA, apparently, and buying open access materials.
And Altmetrics.
And Altmetrics. Doing Altmetrics. So it looks like, yes, we got a pretty good amount of people who are going to be shaking things up when you get home. Yes? That's very interesting to hear. Huh. So publishers as opposed to aggregators, I would imagine. Okay, all right. Well, I'm sure that there are pretty compelling reasons behind that. Anyone else? Yes? Okay, very important, yes. Maybe talk to me afterward. I need to know how to do that. Yes? Definitely a worthy undertaking. Anybody else? All right, well, we're all just going to go shake things up. Let's have a little bit more fun with our questions. What's the best book you've read this year? I want to know because I need some reading material. Derek, how about you?
It's the best book because I read it every year. It's McCarthy's Bar. It's all about getting drunk in bars in Ireland.
Ooh.
It's a travel book. Can I have just 1 minute for the story? It's a journalist in Birmingham in England who was made redundant at the age of 50. Couldn't get a new job. He'd had a big payout, and he decided he'd write a book. It's the only book I've ever bought in paperback, then gone out and bought the hardback. He says, but when he starts the book, that there's always one bit of advice you get from your grandmother that you remember. And the bit of advice he had from his grandmother was never walk past a bar with your name on the door. And his name is McCarthy. So he went to Ireland and just goes around every bar, finding out what the Irish think of themselves and having a great time. McCarthy's Bar. I don't need to tell you the author because it's in the title, McCarthy's Bar.
Should I do the same thing in Ireland?
Oh, yes.
Right, okay, look for some pubs with Gallagher in the name. One of them I saw was My Own Book, was the best book you've read this year. Anybody want to share what's your own book? Is Stephen King in the audience? I mean, I wouldn't know which one because he's published about 8 books this year. I'm a huge fan, by the way. I'm not dissing him. Okay. I haven't read most of these, so this is great. I'm getting some really good ideas. I think the best book I read this year, I finally read Nathaniel Philbrick's In the Heart of the Sea. Has anyone read that one? About the whale ship Essex. There's a movie coming out next month, so please read it before you see the movie. It's really fantastic. Derek and I share a love of maritime adventures, by the way.
Yeah. Put the two of us in a rowing boat and there's no stopping us.
All right, this is the most important question by far of all of the polling questions. What's your favorite restaurant in Charleston? All right, we're still, sorry everybody, I moved on a little quickly. Justine's, yes. Last year I asked this question and I got a lot of responses that said not this. Has anyone eaten at Aw Shucks Oyster Shack? Yeah. Il Cortil del Rey, that was always my favorite. Am I correct that that's not there anymore? I read online because I was looking it up to take my mom there, and I read that it's not there anymore. I know, it's always my favorite. Anything that sells barbecue, all right. Well, Derek, did you have an answer to this one?
I had lots of nice places, but the one I thought was really great is just across the street, is Ladles, the soup kitchen. That was a brilliant place for lunch.
I haven't been able to get in there. There's like a line out the door every time.
It's really, really good.
I like that this is anonymous because last year somebody said McDonald's. You gotta branch out. Subway! Eat fresh. Even in Charleston. All right, we're moving on. Any suggestions for the 2016 Charleston Conference theme? Where do we go from here? Feel free to get real punny with this too. I like some good puns. Oh, no theme. Wow, that's gonna get crazy. Hug a publisher. Oh. Full disclosure, I used to work for a vendor, and so my first 4 Charlestons were here as a vendor, and you do leave feeling a little battered.
I love Altmetrics.
I love Altmetrics. I like Standards in the Sky. That's really good, whoever came up with that one. That's the kind of thing I like to see. Oh. So next year is going to be very interesting. Especially the timing of the conference is always so crucial with election years.
The idea of Trump budgeting makes you glad that words like oxymoronic do exist.
Oh. These are some great ones. All right, Katina, are you getting ideas for next year? All right. Oh, right. Been there, done that? Well, all right, moving on. If you come up with other really, really good ones, feel free to, just tell Katina. Oh, yes, yeah. All right, what do you think will be the hottest topic of Charleston 2016? I'm very interested in this so that we can look next year and see if any of our predictions came true. This one really might be Trump. I don't know. Death of the ILS. The weather. I mean, if we're being really honest, yes, that's... Who isn't owned by ProQuest or EBSCO? I think that might be the winner. That's good. These are going to be great to look at next. I hope everybody comes back next year because we're going to be looking at these. Where libraries fit in. Oh, boy. well, let's see how many of these come true. This may have been my last one. Yes, it is. All right, so without further ado, my esteemed colleague and new friend and fellow maritime scholar, though I don't put myself in your same category, I'm just more of a reader, Derek Law is going to regale us with some end-of-conference comments. However, Derek, I would like to point out that if you'd like to get a real sense of the kind of person who Derek is to check out his, I believe, now defunct blog called Long Overdue. And as he describes it, it's a dated blog of library jokes and stories. So I wanted to share just a couple of my favorites, one of which was, what did the spider do inside the library computer? It made a web page. All right, no, but this one's even better, really. Why did the librarian slip and fall on the library floor? Because she was in the non-friction section. Did you make these up? These are so funny. All right. There are lots of, changing light bulb jokes, too. Like, how many academic librarians does it take to change a light bulb? And, I'll let you answer that one. But thanks so much for participating in the polls, everyone. And without further ado, Derek Law.
Actually, has everybody heard of David Beckham, the footballer? Because my favorite joke is David Beckham goes into the library and he goes up to the desk and he says, "Can I have a Big Mac and fries, please?" And the counter assistant says, "You're in a library." And he says, "I'm sorry, can I have a Big Mac and fries, please?" Okay, where's my slideshow button? Slideshow. Okay. Well, I have been asked to do a summing up. Summing up is almost impossible. The conference has become so big. This is the 35th Charleston Conference. Happy birthday, Charleston Conference. Almost 1,800 registered. Almost 500 first-timers. 291 sessions. It's physically impossible to attend everything, and therefore I can only give you some of my prejudices, not actually sum up everything that happened. But one of the notable features for me is 549 speakers of the 1,800 registrants. One of the great things about Charleston is that it's about sharing. I know of no other conference where the ratio of speakers to attendees is so high. It's not, as in so many conferences, about 50 people standing up at podia like this and handing down tablets of stone to the ignorant masses. It's about a third of the conference sharing their experiences, their plans, their projects, and their ambitions with each other. It's the most sharing conference I'm aware of. The other thing I love about Charleston is the quotes that we always get at the beginning, the conference theme, and I've had lots of them over the years. This time it's from, I guess, the Martin Luther King speech, "Where do we go from here?" One of the great speeches by this famous speaker. But it only tells half the story, because this is the cataloger's way. It's, as we all do, we know, we learn, we catalogue from the title page, not from the cover. But we then, in this case, lose some meaning. Where do we go from here? Chaos or community is the sort of subtitle that doesn't appear on the title page. Is it chaos? Well, we're all working, or all have been working separately in little boxes. And again, one of the great things about Charleston is the way in which it encourages people from different disciplines, from different areas, from different activities, to come together with their different perspectives on a whole range of topics. And at a time of radical and fundamental change, this has been a theme coming through, it's more important than ever that all of those in the information stream, the information flow, are working together towards common ends. In the UK, a survey was done recently which showed that the public library, but the library is the second most used, still the second most used public service. It's hugely popular with the public. I should perhaps add that the most popular and most heavily used public service is crematoria. Now, can't you see we have a great advantage over crematoria because we can get repeat business? The other bit of advice I always loved was that Bjorn Borg, the tennis player, when he gave up the professional circuit, he took up coaching. And what he would do, I gather, is that he would play a couple of games with whoever he was giving some coaching to, and he always had a single bit of advice which he gave to those he was coaching. And that was, always change a losing game. And I've always thought that was a great motto, a great bit of advice to give, a great thing to work with. If it's not working, don't try and improve it and tinker with it. Change it, fundamentally. Because what we're going through, and this was again a theme of some of the plenary speeches, is that we're going through not an upgrade, but an upheaval. And always change the losing game. One of my favorite authors that I like to read is Clay Shirky. He tends to be talking about journalism, but the sort of things he talks about, because it's part of the information scene as well, to me apply just as much to libraries and publishing. The hard truth about the future is that nobody knows for sure what will happen. The current system is so brittle and the alternatives are so speculative that there's no hope for a simple and orderly transition from state A to state B. Chaos is our lot. The best we can do is identify the various forces at work shaping various possible futures, which to me sums up where we are, this state of chaos, perfectly. But what we have and what Charleston produces is that sense of community which can take us forward. I liked that phrase yesterday from Catherine Skinner about conditions aligning, things beginning to come together, working together, making things happen. And I always like alliteration. That's the trouble with being a librarian, I guess. I like the 4 S's. And you get these all at Charleston: sandboxes, showcases, sharing platters, and survival kits. There are all kinds of different sessions. It's not just about people standing up here talking down. I've been in meetings this week, meetings of 6 people and meetings of 1,000 people. And all of them have values of different kinds and bring knowledge of different kinds. So I'm a great believer in community. Something else I'm doing made me think of an analogy, which was something I know absolutely nothing about, but I like the analogy, which is the way in which gardens changed in England between the 16th and the 18th century. The traditional English garden was a very small, very regimented. This is the one at Hampton Court. Everything divided into tight little boxes, everything perfectly articulated, everything very neat and tidy, but the boxes very separate and very much apart. They were traditional, formal box gardens, which were first introduced in France and then moved to England in the style of somebody called Le Nôtre. But then along came the Industrial Revolution, and along came Capability Brown. He worked at the time of the Industrial Revolution, and he revolutionized gardens, great house gardens in England and the United Kingdom. Great sweeping vistas, using technology to dig big lakes, using technology to build bridges across those, have big sweeping views of what was going on, everything linked together, the water, the landscape, the views, all linked together. He literally opened up new vistas. The other thing I love about him is that he invented the ha-ha. You know, that little step in gardens that you fall down, ha-ha, the original lull. So he took the time, he seized the moment, he saw the alignment of things coming together, and he changed fundamentally the way that gardens looked in big posh houses of the sort that you now pay $20 to visit. So where are we going to create our pleasing vistas for the future? Well, Charleston's a great start. That's why you're here. I hope that all of you, half of you here, will be back next year, and that instead of being first-timers, you'll be second-timers. Charleston is also, for me, an experience of the senses, and all 5 senses, starting with sight. The beauty of Charleston, I mean, it really is a gorgeous city. The Gaillard Centre, I come from near France, so I'm going to call it Gaillard. The Gaillard Centre Performance Hall is really wonderful. Last night I heard screaming outside. It was cheerleaders practicing out in the park. Wonderful. The aquarium, all sorts of views of sharks and things that work with publishers. And come on, it's a joke. And then other two, the characters. Tony, where's Tony? Tony, the style icon up at the back there. These are pictures of players in the Rugby World Cup. which happened in the last month for those of you in America who went out in the first round. These are pictures from the Rugby World Cup of people who clearly have seen Tony and used him as a style icon. That's the one at the top right's the one I love, but there we go. So Charleston is an experience of the sentence. Sight, we've done. Taste, lots of food. Oh, lots of food, and wonderful canapes. You know canapes, it's the French for hors d'oeuvre. Lots of food, and I thank you to all the sponsors and hosts who've given us so much of that wonderful food. I've enjoyed lunch today, particularly. Smell, did you see the gas leak in King Street? Well, you can't see a gas leak. The thing I loved about that was how many emergency vehicles does Charleston actually own? There must have been about 20 of them out there when they thought there was a gas leak. All these sirens going. I wish my grandson could have been there. He would have loved it. I could think of lots of other smells, but that seemed the most delicate one to mention. Hearing, one of the things about having so many speakers, so many sessions, is I tried to do a rough calculation and reckon that you have all heard something like 4 million words over the last 3 days. That's quite a lot to take in. And lastly, touch. The Francis Marion lifts are rather small, so can I apologize to all of those that I may inadvertently have touched over the last 3 days? Yeah, but at least it's a story. So really, as well as trying to sum up very briefly, I'd like to do some thanks to the community who support and run and organize the Charleston Conference. The sponsors who have fed us wonderfully well during the week. And the exhibitors who informed us. But perhaps most importantly for me, they gave me all sorts of things to put in the Christmas stockings, the Santa stockings for my daughters and grandchildren. There's some wonderful toys in there that will be going into Christmas stockings. I'm Scottish, I get to be mean. And the conference team, it would be invidious to name any name in particular. There's been a huge conference team who you've seen all around, from information desks, back of house, front of house. They've all been absolutely charming, absolutely friendly, wonderfully helpful, and they've done a great job. And to you, the participants, a new record of almost 1,800, all learning, training, and for me, most importantly, sharing. That's been the community that's come together over this last few days. And of course, Katina, the fons et origo of the conference. For those of you who didn't benefit from a classical education, that's fons as in source and origin, not as in Henry Winkler of. Although we have had happy days. It would be traditional in my part of the world to finish with Auld Lang Syne. Now, hardly anybody knows the real story of Auld Lang Syne, and these two verses are the two middle verses which nobody ever sings, but are some of the most important for me, because Auld Lang Syne is about remembering childhood friendships. It's about remembering being together. It tells the story of Burns' friend. They'd run about the hills together. They'd wandered around together in the old days. They paddled in Burns, they played together as children. And then the friend moved overseas to Jamaica, to the plantations, and they were separated for years. But they remember every year, with a toast, those friendships. So Auld Lang Syne, which I'm not going to try and sing to you, is all about friendship. It's not about the end of the year, it's about friendship. And that's the other great thing that one gets in Charleston. So, see you next year. November 2nd to the 5th. I like that effect. See you next year in Charleston, and welcome return then. Thank you. I'm sorry, I forgot one joke I was going to tell about Katina. Not a joke, really, just a question. Did you all see Katina sitting in the box in the Gallagher Centre in the Opera House? I couldn't make up my mind. Did it look like Queen Elizabeth and Prince Philip sitting there in their majesty, or did it look like Statler and Waldorf?